Hi again, this is Keiko from Brooklyn Shoe Space. I just wanted to save the video, not like last time. I didn't want to lose the video, so I saved it, and now we'll go back on with Don Kilpatrick. We were just looking through his sketchbooks. Oops. You can tell I'm in a closet. Here. Okay. Says waiting.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
good,
I
good.
just wanted to
So,
make sure I don't lose the video because that's what's been happening with uh with me this past couple days.
yeah,
So
no,
sorry. Yeah.
I've had that happen with a couple of mine lately too. So, um, yeah, I'll keep showing sketchbooks here. I'll just set this back up again, and we'll just keep going. Is that cool?
Yes. And
Okay, cool.
yeah.
All right. 1 second here.
So your favorite sketchbook is from Cavo, you said? What's it called?
Yeah,
Cavo. Yeah.
yeah, I have a couple that I like, and um, Koval sketchbooks is really
Oh, Cavo.
good.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a couple of brands really that you can't go wrong with. I think Koval's really good. Koval.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a sketchbook actually made by. It's actually a company of my former students that graduated. It's called
Oh,
Illo Sketchbook, and they
okay.
have a 10 inch by 10 inch, which I can never remember my metrics, but and they have an 8 inch square,
Wow.
and it's also got like a nice big pouch in the background.
Uh-huh.
Or in the back of the book, I mean.
Backbook. Yeah.
And there's another sketchbook too by Shinola. Their
Mm,
artist sketchbook is really good too. So
mm.
they're all kind of different prices, but typically I'm finding that a good sketchbook is anywhere you're looking in the ballpark of $20 to $40,
Mm.
to get something that you can do multimedia in,
Right, right.
and which is what I want. I could use anything. I just love to draw, but
Yeah.
I think,
Do you, hmm do
go ahead.
you also go into digital as well, or is it
I
like do you?
do.
Yeah.
I do. I actually, I use Procreate quite a bit. I've got my iPad here. I'll share this too. So I do a lot of different stuff. It's always kind of a challenge for me because I really, I have a lot of varied interests, and I
Right.
think sometimes I kind of get hung up on that because I feel like, okay, if an art director wants to work with me, are they going to just be like confused because I do a lot of different things? But I find that the people that get me, they understand that, and they're
Right.
willing to,
Right.
they trust me enough. And so,
Yes.
um, it's taken me a long time to accept that because I think it's really a confidence thing on my side more than
Right.
anything.
Right.
And,
I feel like the school that you're teaching at is also like a really great, like kind of like a not a platform, but you have so many colleagues and friends
yeah,
around and students that are just excited about
right.
everything that you do, you know?
Well, and it really has given me a lot of confidence, working, again, working with someone like Aki. Aki
Mm-hmm.
has been interested in illustration and, more
Yeah.
drawing,
Yeah.
and his encouragement and other colleagues there where, you're your own worst critic, right?
Yes.
And I feel like I tend to just like, if the critic wakes up in the morning and is the loudest, you know, voice in my head, then it's going to be a
Right.
bad day. But
Oh,
but if I
but
if I if I think about the encouragement I get from other colleagues, then that's what kind
right.
of keeps me going.
But what's
And
amazing is you have your hands, like your hands is your tool and like and yeah, illustration and doing things digitally can come, I guess it's like another different skill. But
yeah,
but you have your hands, you
yeah,
know,
well,
and your style and everything. So,
yeah, and that's the thing I really try to stress is I
mhm,
try to break down the barrier between,
the
I kind of look
medium.
at drawing and painting with on the computer as like drawing and painting in a spacesuit. It's kind of like, you don't have all,
Right.
you have this complex machine and you got all these
Yeah,
buttons and stuff, and you're like,
yeah,
you're in there just pushing buttons, right? You're
right,
pushing other people's buttons, you're pushing buttons, you're kind of
right,
going crazy. And I
right.
kind of like that. I think that's something that that I find interesting because, you know, you're going to find a new and interesting way to do something that you
Right.
might not have done before.
Yeah.
So,
With by hand. Right.
yeah. And, you know, so I use Procreate quite a bit, and I do everything from like, you know, digital painting. Let's see, I can get that in here to, let's see here. I've got, oh, actually, this is right here. This is the,
Ooh.
so I did this image for, thank you. I did this image here for, into a woodcut. I don't have the wood block with me. I had to turn that into the client. But I started this digitally because, you know, working with an agency, they had all of these different changes to make. And they're like, oh, well, could you add this, take this away?
Right.
And so having the ability to work in Procreate or in Photoshop has been invaluable because I have the best of both worlds. Like I can go in here and I can make those split-second changes, get everything ready, get the client happy and signed off on it. And then the fun part is real. The fun part for me is actually the carving. That's the therapy for me. And so that's really just execution. It's 80% of it is all the preparatory that leads up to that point. And I'm sure that's the way with shoes. It's definitely with any other creative endeavor. It's really what's the reason behind it for all this like effort and struggle that you put into it if you haven't really thought it through on the front end, right? And I think and so there's so many things that relate to what I do with that. And you know, and I also use this as a way to, I teach a beginning painting class in my department where it's really about applied color theory. Like how do you take what you learn and apply it to illustration and storytelling and, you know, doing different, you know, color studies based off of different photography.
Wow,
and,
this is Procreate? That's just totally looks like it's just like a painting. Wow.
This is, you know, from a, well, it's really, see, this is the thing is like, for me, and one thing I stress to students or anybody who's interested in this is I have at my disposal in here, my little bunker here is really kind of overflowing with stuff. It's kind of like Francis Bacon's New York studio in here. And it's really kind of, it's a hoarder's paradise. But at my disposal, I have a sewing machine off to my right. I've got brushes right here. I've got printing inks. I've got my digital tools. Because I like to go back and forth between the two. And what informs my digital painting is having spent all the time and invest the time in all the different types of marks, the different types of brushes make, and understanding like, ooh, you know, if I use this old brush that seems like I should throw it away, but then it does this amazing sort of stroke that is reminiscent of a dress or something, or you know what I mean. And so I bring that to the technology, and I try to push the technology to replicate that in some cases.
Wow.
But you know, like with some of these paintings here, like for example, this is the basic setup for a landscape that I did. And you know, basically this is the underpinnings or the chassis, so to speak. And then the finished piece is more like this.
Wow.
You know, so it's really taking the basics and working texture and line and pattern and all these things.
And layering
the same goes with fashion, the same, you know, all these different things. And, you know, these are just design principles that I try to stress to others is like, look, you know, take and try to work back and forth and don't look at one as inferior to the other, but look at it as just one more bit of media to, you know, I'm pushing pixels and sometimes I'm pushing paint and sometimes I'm carving away. And then in the instance up here, you know, I'm indicating that I'm going to make this into a carving, you know? Like I'm going to make this into a carving sometime soon. I haven't gotten to it yet, but and then I've got, let's see, I've got one here too. Oh yeah, I got this guy in here too.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the things I wanted to see in Tokyo was the rockabilly guys, and I can't remember the name of the park, but I never got a chance to go there. I'm going to go back to Tokyo just for that. No, I'm
yes, definitely.
You know, so
how about you were saying you also sketch shoes?
Yes, actually I did a demo for Noriyuki and Yuki's class. Let's see, it's in here. This was based off of a shoe
Oh,
design that
okay.
he did.
Uh-huh.
You know, here's the he,
Uh-huh.
he
Wow.
took
Ooh.
apart like, gosh, I think like 4 or 5 different pairs of Oxfords, and then, you know, I love that texture, and so I did that. I've got, you know, and then you know, the carving that you showed in the post,
Yes.
that
The
I did
heels.
that for a local fashion magazine, and my friend Yuko really wanted that block, and so I said, let's trade. So I traded that to her, and she's got that wood block. But I also look at the wood blocks as being something that I look at as the dual original. Like, you know, if I have control of the block, then I control
Mm.
the number of the edition, and, you know,
Right.
all of that sort of thing. And that's something that I take and you know, try to leverage when I sell an original. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
I'm trying to think if anything else here shoe related. Let me see if I can. Let's see what I can find in my sketchbooks here, because I might have something there. Um, yeah.
Oh,
Let me
yeah.
grab that
H
while.
H Crip Custom, yeah, asks photos. Do you use a camera? Yes, I think when you don't have enough time or forget.
Oh,
Yes, I think
absolutely,
yes, right? Yeah. Like the
absolutely.
Japan sketchbook, half of the
Oh yeah.
sketches were or the paintings were based on photos,
Oh yeah. And I
right?
have about
Yeah.
10 more of those planned. And
Wow.
it's just a matter of I'm going to do one of those as an auction item pretty soon
Ooh.
here. I'm working that out with one of my mentors is putting together. He runs a group called Illustration Academy and the Visual Arts Passage, and
Uh-huh.
they're doing
Is that in Detroit?
no, they're based out of Kansas City, but they
Okay.
pull illustrators from all over to do this, and I was
Mm.
really honored they asked me. It's
Mm.
going to be at the end of June, so
Okay.
I'm actually gonna take one of, you know, another photo that I had there, and actually, and these have been my virtual figure painting sessions with them every Thursday.
Mm. Oh,
Um,
that is cool that you have a community like that.
yeah, and it's really, again, it's one of those things that's really helped me through this really difficult situation, is
Yes.
having that sense of community.
Right.
And the thing I love too is, like, now I don't own I feel very lucky, because not only do I have a community of illustrators, but I also have this
Mm-hmm.
community of shoemakers that I've really become great friends with.
Yes. Yes.
And I just feel like it's one big group of artists, you know, and
Right.
I really don't even look at it in the different camps anymore. It's just
Yeah.
everybody's making, and we're just playing on different
Absolutely.
stages, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You
And
really enjoy what you do. Ooh. Yeah, that's cool
thanks.
too.
Yeah, trying. This is really after being really inspired by my friend John J. Cabway, who's a fashion illustrator out of New York. You know, really
Mm-mm.
trying to loosen up, because I tend to tighten up quite a bit. You know,
Mm.
I really love to render, and I love to, like, you know, I love to really just kind of draw the daylights out of things, and so I kind of am trying to um, loosen up, you
Yeah.
know,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Yeah. No, it looks great.
yeah, and I'm trying to
Oh,
see if I've got.
if you had like a unlimited resource and time in the world, would you design like something, a shoe for yourself, or would you do illustrations? What
Oh
would
my
you
god,
make or design,
I
and for
think.
who?
Wow. Okay, that's a yeah. Because I saw you had that question. That's a tough one. I think right now it would be what. Well, what I would love to do is I'd love to partner up with, you know, someone who, you know, I don't know if it's production shoes or if it's, you know, continuing to work with Noriyuki or someone like that, but
Mm-hmm.
would be to collaborate on shoes that way. I'd love to continue doing something along those lines, where I'm carving into the soles, I'm carving
Mm-hmm.
into the upper leather,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that sort of thing. And also, I think,
Ooh, wow. Look at
oh,
that.
thanks.
The light and the shadow.
Yeah, thanks. Just trying
Beautiful. Oh.
to do something different with that, and you know, just trying.
Do you ever sell, not sell prints, but do you make them super big into an art kind of like wall, or do you also sell your prints?
I do. I have a gallery that I've been working with on that, and I'm just trying to figure out, right as the pandemic started, I was trying to figure out a way to make things more available, because I've been very lucky to get a lot of inquiries, and the struggle for me has been trying to find a way to distribute in that, and
Right.
that's something I'm going to work out and definitely try to.
Oh,
This is a bunch
cool.
of mixed media.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I use like a solvent to melt the chalk, and
Oh,
it almost becomes
yeah.
like paint, you know.
Yeah.
But you have
Okay.
to be careful, because you can get really stoned by doing that because of the solvent if you don't have good ventilation. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I
Wow.
have to be kind of careful with that. But just
Yeah.
some figure drawing and stuff like
Wow. Wow.
that. It's yeah. I'm trying to work that out and do something like that. So yeah, no. Aki was saying I've done. Well, let me do this. Let me kind of walk you. Again, just keep in mind, disclaimer, my studio is like Francis Bacon's studio in New York, in
Oh,
the
do
80s
we
and
get to
70s.
see a little
Yeah,
studio?
you're gonna
That'll be
see.
great. A
Welcome to my
tour.
mess. But
Yes.
let me give you like my. It's not as
Yes,
cool as
please.
Darren's. Like I'm kind of actually embarrassed, because he's like, his space is so cool and mine's not as cool and orderly. But let me see if I can find
It's what's it called? Organized chaos.
Yes, let's call it that. We'll call it that. Just I think that sounds better than what I would call it. So let's definitely call it organized chaos. Let me see here. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna keep it on me here first, so you guys don't see some of the mess. I'm going to be very selective in what I show you. So
Sure.
this is essentially where I've been working, and a friend of mine showed me how to take and make this shooting stand out of PVC pipe.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I have been, where I'm making. And then you can see my sewing machine over here, and it's kind of buried behind the prints
The
that I've been
prints.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow,
and I've been
look
doing
at that.
quite a few.
Ooh.
So this was a 3-color. This is from last night. This is an older
so vibrant
linoleum cut that I did. And then this is the print from the whiskey company that I did.
Yeah. The one
kind
that
of
you showed us on your iPad. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then back here is this really large kind of rocket print here. There's Noriyuki shoes. There's and I have this lovely drawing that Yuko Shimizu gave me. She came out and visited Detroit, and this is how she depicts herself with her dog in a Model T.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
then I've got another drawing of hers that I need to get framed. It's behind. This is a print of mine, but that's a drawing she did.
Wow.
I think she did it for a cosmetic line in Singapore or something.
Wow.
So that's from a drawing that she did of her work, and she takes her ink drawings and then digitizes them. And then I wanted to have a wall of shoemaking tools,
wow.
like all the other shoemakers out there, even though I'm more of like a amateur or wannabe shoemaker. So let's see.
You've made more hand welted shoes than I have. I need to catch up on it. Yeah. No, I've been making too many cement construction. Ooh, look at the tiger.
So this is okay. So when the pandemic started, I've been working on 2 feet by 4 feet woodcuts, and I've done a series of cosmonauts of Yuri Gagarin and Valentina Tereshkova, I think is her name. And I had this other one planned, and I was going to start carving it, and this is where it was just exhausting. I went through a whole bottle of ink drawing this onto the block, and then I was like, I'm going to carve it, but then I just got it was a really rough day at the beginning of things, and I was thinking, like, I'm just going to put this over here and kind of like come back, and I'm kind of glad I did. Because but I'm definitely gonna start carving this. It's a lot. There's a lot going on there.
Lot.
This is definitely something I'm gonna.
Do you think it's like has something with your internal feelings, or is it like political things that's happening, or is it do you go into that field a little bit too? when you, well, say when you
I,
don't have a client, for example, for if it's for yourself, do you do
yeah.
political as well as emotions
I
onto?
try to.
Mm,
Yeah, it's definitely, there's definitely a bend to that. I don't know if I'm yeah, it's really kind of how I'm processing it, I think, and
mm,
so yes and no. I mean, it's a little bit of that, and it's a little bit of me just processing things
yeah,
in my response to that, I think.
right.
And you know, this image here was kind of based off of an image I did for the LA Times, where
Mm,
the blindness of patriotism, and I was thinking of other things too with that, where it's kind of indoctrination and things like that,
mm,
and try to keep it open ended enough to where I would keep people guessing as to what
right.
keep kind of interpreting their kind of take on it, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm still kind of on the fence about this one, so I kind of left it, and I decided I'm
Mm,
going to work on exploring further,
other
kind
things.
of the
Let it
space.
rocket. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So my friend of mine has a farm here in Michigan, and he has all these old maple trees or
Oh,
walnut trees that he took down, and
wow. It's
he got a lot of
beautiful.
stuff. Thanks. He had this stuff milled, and he gave me these because he didn't know what to do with them, and I thought, and I've held on to these for a couple of years, but they kind of have this like icon kind of feel to it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
thought, so I'm going to have a companion piece to this one. This is one of the next ones I'm going to do. Um, I don't know when I'm going to start this one, but yeah,
Yeah,
I've
it's
really
a
enjoyed it. This,
process. Yeah.
yeah, and something like this, I can't, something like this, I'm not going to be able to print this on a press, and I intentionally did
Right,
this to
right.
print this by hand,
Mm,
and I'm in the process of running an edition of these.
okay,
So I'm gonna keep going with that. I'll come back to this one, and then
cool.
this is a block from, or a print from, gosh, a few years ago. This is, it's kind of got a Robert Johnson kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
The
It,
block, my gallery sold the block, and the block had different layers of carving that don't
mm,
touch a printing press, and I did that intentionally so there would be different originals.
yeah.
So
Wow.
I wish I had that block with me, but it's
Mm,
she did sell that, and it's with a
mm.
collector. I don't know who though.
H.
Yeah.
Cliff Customs asks, do you think technology will take over art?
I think in many ways it has, but I don't think.
There's a
Um,
human behind the technology.
yeah, I had a
Mm,
professor in
mm.
college who, now
Wow.
mind you, I think
You
he was
have
a little bit
faith.
drunk when he said this, but he said Ken and Barbie doesn't Ken and Barbie isn't voodoo, and we were like, what? What does that even mean? But
Right.
but it, but it kind of it kind of makes sense to me, where there's this kind of voodoo that you have, or this magic that you have with the human hand, and I kind of get a sense that that's always going to be an important aspect of it. I don't
Mm,
think that that's ever going to go anywhere.
yeah.
I think definitely I'd look at technology as, in many ways, it has taken over, but I think as long as we can manage the choices, and
Yeah.
we purposely like determine for ourselves how it's going to work for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we run afoul, and where we run into trouble, is when we don't take the time to understand what works and what doesn't. To not, I purposely try not to pay attention to things that I just know I don't have control over, and that I'm not going to be able to incorporate successfully into my process. I try to
Right.
stay aware of it so that I'm not ignorant, but
Right.
I try not to get too worked up about it, because I feel that what's happening up in here and with other artists I know is just something that there's that ghost in the machine, as they say,
Mm, right.
that you don't have with technology. Maybe technology will figure that out. There's some really scary things, like artificial intelligence being able to, like, self-generate these like images and stuff like that, where
Right.
it freaks out a lot of painters and things, and everybody,
Yeah.
like, I've been at a lot of conferences where everybody's like, oh, and then everybody's talking after, and and I kind of get worked up too, but then I think about it and I come back to earth and I think, you know, I still can tell stories. I still have control over how I process things. And I think there's another quote by John Waters where he said, all technique is failed style. And I think sometimes we get caught up in the delivery system and not the thought process
and the process
delivery
behind
system.
it.
And I think that's where we need to focus is like, what are we trying to say? And what are we trying to do? Why even bother? Because like, printmaking, for example, I could go and CNC this stuff. I could go and do all that. And actually there's times where that really would be helpful if I understood the technology. But on the other hand, it's like, but Ken and Barbie's not voodoo, and I kind of want to keep my hands involved in this as long as I'm able to do that.
Yeah. And it's your process. And then it's your style too. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, there's a machine that can sew perfectly, but can that machine have the sensitivity that Noriyuki Misawa has when he works on something? I mean, I just don't see that happening. I mean, I just don't see maybe it'll happen, but I think that there's always going to be that need for that craftsperson, that artist in that equation.
I agree.
Anyway, I could go on and on forever.
I totally agree. I love following your every night. You kind of, I always ask if you are working on something for yourself or personally, like a personal project right now, but I feel like you do that almost every day, every night. You have like a live and we get to see how you work. So it's kind of great. Thank you for sharing. Where would you want to be and what do you want to be doing in like 3 to 5 years? Would you do some things differently after this lockdown? Would you feel?
Yeah, I think I feel like I'm one of these people that is just go, and I need to slow down a little bit more and just really process things more. And what this is really, and I'm still learning this obviously, I think, but it's really helped me process and slow down more. And I think it's really helped me, it's really solidified to me the importance of community. And I think for me, what I would do differently is to not take for granted my community, which I think I do. I think maybe we all kind of do to a certain extent, but I definitely am not going to take advantage of that going forward. Going forward, what would I do different? I think, I don't know, because I feel like it's really, I've looked at this as kind of something that I've really cherished because I've been able to have time to explore a lot of things that I normally wouldn't. I've been able to be very productive. So I want to continue that and, really carve out time and not worry about some of the things that I was really hung up about.
Do you feel like through this whole lockdown and sort of being isolated and now connecting directly with viewers or students, or that you would, you were saying you worked with like a gallery as well as you represent yourself, but do you feel like there's going to be like a direct more connection as well with other people just through Instagram, like your Instagram live? Is it something that you started during this time, or have you always been doing it?
I've been doing it for a while, but I feel like I wasn't really doing it effectively. And what I'm hoping to do with this is I think I'm going to set up, I've been talking about this for a couple of years of setting up a Patreon page and, having like additional access if someone really wants more intensive kind of critique or instruction or feedback. I think I'm going to make that available and, finally get everything together for that. I feel like I've been able to connect to people directly, like, and this is all pretty new, but for example, Speedball Art, I've been able to connect with them during the pandemic, and I'm part of their professional artist network and meeting. I think that's that came as a result of doing Instagram Live and being available during that. So I'm going to continue to do that. I think what I'll do as I develop the Patreon pages, some of the things where I go more in depth, I'll probably move those to Patreon. And I don't know if I'll necessarily charge. I'm not going to necessarily like try to charge people a lot of money for that or make it super exclusive. I like to be, I like teaching a lot. I love explaining things, and I'm going to continue to do that no matter what it is I'm doing, even if people don't want to hear it, you know. But I you know, where I'm going forward, I think I'll always have that kind of teacher mindset. But my hope is like 3 to 5 years from now is to continue. You know, obviously I wasn't expecting to be in the role and responsibility that I am now at CCS, but I definitely hope that I can use that as a platform to really make things more inclusive and equitable for all students, and make what we do at CCS more accessible for them. That's one of the things I hope happens, you know, from this, or what we're, you know, 3 to 5 years from now. Personally, professionally, in my own practice, I definitely want to have more shows. I want to continue to expand my collector base, and I want to continue to collaborate with other, you know, artists and craftspeople. I'm hoping you know, would love to continue that. Travel. I definitely want to travel. I definitely want to get back to Japan. I'd like to get back to, you know, Russia and Ukraine. I have some background there. I spent a couple of years living in Ukraine. And I've not been there in like 25 years, but I'd like to go back there. Lots of stuff. Big
lots
eyes,
of stuff.
But, you know,
it's great.
Time, right?
Yes, but it's good to keep it in your mind, you know, and also keep it out in the world. No, that's great. Thank you for what you do. You have beautiful illustrations, and I'll look forward to keeping on seeing what you put out.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored that you would ask me to do this. This is great. And I love what you're doing. Fun. I think it's so inspiring, and I'm excited to see where Brooklyn Shoe Space goes, man. I'm excited to see what, you know, your new location and things, and visit you soon. You know, that's great.
Once we get back into the town, I'll let you all know.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, this is great. So
thank you so much for taking your time and showing us all your work, beautiful work too.
Thank you. Thank you. And
I look forward to your next shoe.
All right. I promise you, man. By the end of summer, I'm gonna have another pair. So okay. Making the promise here live. So, All right.
Everybody's gonna hold you accountable for that. No, just kidding.
I better do it now.
Enjoy.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Have fun making. Right. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
See you. All right. Bye-bye.